This is Jason. Today I'm gonna do a little something different, other than like the fishing stuff. Yeah. Well, I had a change of plans. I was planning on shooting 2 crossbows. Well, I'll get into that a little later. But first off is I'm gonna shoot a crossbow that I've had for five or so years. It shoots great, and the only thing, like, if I want to hunt with it, it only shoots like 250. But I'm gonna shoot it over a chronograph, and my second bow is a Centerpoint Dagger 390, and I was planning on shooting it, but I don't have a good enough target. And the target I got in yesterday, I shot at it yesterday afternoon, and at 30 yards I was blowing through it. So I sent it back, and I got another target on the way. But anyway, I grew up hunting, doves, duck, all that good stuff. But then when my vision crapped out, I can't really see the doves or any birds flying. I could still deer hunt. Now, I've shot a deer with my dad's 444, and I blew a freaking hole in that that big old nanny goat. She didn't go very far. In fact, she jumped and she ran into a tree that was right by her, and so the tree was covered in blood. She kind of bounced off of it. Anyway, so I said, well, I want to try something different. So I went to a pawn shop and I bought a compound bow because I did not want to spend a lot of money and end up not liking it. Well, I shot it. I even brought it to a dealer, local dealer. They, went through it. I think my draw was 29 inches. I think it maxed out. It was maxed out at 28 inches. And, I had heard compound bow is more like depth perception, which legally blind, I have 0 depth perception. So they say when you see your target, you kind of focus on the pin, the target gets blurry. It's all blurry for me. So I was like, well, crap. I even looked, I got a new sight and tried it. I just didn't feel comfortable with a compound bow. I looked at those little lenses you could put in the sight and kind of make it like a scope or something bigger or whatever. Anyway, as long as it has a scope, I'm good up to about 50 yards. So I said, well, let me try a crossbow. So I did a lot of research, and I ended up buying this. This is an SA Sports Empire Terminator. It's a recurve. Well, it's a hybrid recurve. It's got this gold wing, and these little where the string. It's not like a traditional recurve. It's 26 inches uncocked, 20 inches cocked. It's 11.5 inch power stroke. It does not have an anti-dry fire. In 5 years, I did really well. And then about a week ago, I shot it. I was excited to, shoot it. And yeah, I forgot to put a bolt in. And, well, I dry fired it. Being only at 260 feet per second, I wasn't sure if it would do any damage. Well, I took a cotton ball and I rubbed it on the inside and outside of the limbs, and it didn't do anything. I felt the string, everything was good. So I cocked it and I fired it, and it fired great. And then I fired it a lot since then, and it held up perfect. But it came, and it's very light. I mean, very light compared to that center point I have. This is really light. That center point's freaking top heavy. It's all get out, but it shoots hard. It came with the scope. This is not the regular scope, because a couple weeks after I had it, I was cocking it, and before I put the rope on it, it fell. It fell like that, and it landed on the scope. And when I shot, it made a loud noise, because I hit the fence behind it, the target. It was shooting about 2 to 3 foot high. You know, it shot high. So I got this scope, put it on there. It's got this raised cheek piece. The stock is adjustable. You loosen up these Allen bolts, and you can adjust it to whatever you like. I really like it. I mean, it shoots good, and at 20 yards, it shoots hard. Well, anyway, I have it came with 2 16-inch aluminum arrows. SA Sports arrows. Well, I've been using 20-inch carbon arrows just because they're more readily available than 16-inch aluminum. But this thing is very accurate. I mean, not long after I bought it, I went to a local archery store, and I picked up 3 PSE Fang 20-inch carbon bolts, and I put 100 grain field point. I sighted in at 20 yards, and you know that thump when you hit the target, right? Well, I shot it once, it hit the target, shot it again, and it made this a much different noise. I walked out there, and my arrow was sticking out about 6 inches. I had Robin Hood my arrows, and it hit square on it, and it shoved the nock down into the shaft of the arrow. So I was down to 2 carbon bolts. Then a couple weeks later, I really wasn't thinking I'd need it again. So I was down to 1 PSE Fang arrow. Yeah. So anyway, well, I shot that one. Then I aimed a little different. I shot the 16-inch, but well, it hit super close to that PSE. They were touching, and it ripped off one of the fletchings. So, and then of course 16-inch, they pack a lot of punch. I was buried the bolts in the target past the fletching, like, yeah. So I ordered, I believe they were made by NAP, Twister Quick Fletch, I believe it was. I'll link it below. But I cut off the rest of the veins, and then I sanded it. Took a sandpaper and sanded it down, and then I put the quick fletch little wrapping on there, and now I got some hot boiling water, and I just dipped them in the boiling water for like 5 seconds or so, or however long, and man, they worked great. They flew great. So yeah, anyway, so I'm gonna shoot over the chronograph to get the real world speed of this. I have a couple 16-inch carbon bolts with 100 point and 125 grain points, and I also am going to shoot 20-inch carbon bolts, and I have I'm going to put the same 100 point and 125 grain field points. Yeah, so alright, let's get to it. What's happening? Please like and subscribe. It would help me out great. I do this just for fun, I guess. So yeah, please, you don't even have to watch the videos. Just like and subscribe. Thank you. Alright, shot number 1. Let's see ya. Shooting off a glass top table, so it makes a little more noise than usual. Shot number 2. Shot number 2. And I am aiming low because the middle of my target is 8 up. Alright, these are 16-inch arrows, maybe, with 125 grain tips. Alright, shot number 2, 125 grain arrow. I forgot to mention that this thing is a 175-pound draw. Shot number 1, 20-inch arrows and a 100 grain field point. Inch arrow, 100 grain, shot number 3. Or I'm sorry, shot number 2. Alright, first shot with 20-inch arrows, 100 grain field points. I was mistaken. I was shooting a 125. But yeah, here we go. There is no silencing anything on this thing, so it is fairly loud. I could compare it with other crossbows because I don't have any, except that tomorrow I'll see. Second shot, 100 grain. What's happening? We're back. So I shot each bolt. Let's see, 1, 2. I shot each bolt 4 times. Twice with the 100 grain, and then twice with the 125. Then I went the 16-inch. Then I did the 20-inch twice with the 100 grain, and twice with the 125. like I said, I was going to do the center point. I wasn't really going to do a review on the bow because there's a lot of reviews on YouTube. There's hardly any for the SA Sports. I think like product videos and that stuff. Well, anyway, so let's see. Alright, so shot number 1, 16-inch carbon fiber bolt, 100 grain. It was a total of 365 grains with the 100 grain. The bolt, they said they were 264, but I got 256 when I weighed it. So with the grain, it's 356. Shot number 1 was 220.9 feet per second. Shot number 2 was 232.1 feet per second. Now they averaged out to 226.5 feet per second. That was a 16-inch bolt, 100 grain field point. Now the second was 16-inch bolt with a 125 grain, so that made it to 391, I believe, 391 grains. So shot number 1 was 216.3 feet per second. Shot number 2 was 212.8 feet per second. That averaged out to 214.6 feet per second. And alright, that was a 16-inch bolt. So then I switched to the 20-inch. The first it was 20-inch carbon, 100 grain field tips. There were 405. So it's 305 is what I was getting, and then with the tip it's 405 grains. Shot number 1 was 231.2 feet per second is what I was getting. Shot number 2 is 230.2 feet per second. It averaged to 230.7 feet per second. That was a 20-inch bolt, 100 grain. The 20-inch bolt with 125 grains was 430 grains. First shot was 211.6 feet per second. The second shot was 210.5 feet per second, and then the average of those was 211.1 feet per second. So I guess shooting a deer at 20 yards at 230 feet per second would do the trick, but I wanted something that would shoot, you know, maybe out to 40 yards, 45, 50's pushing it. I wouldn't go any further than 45, 50 yards. 30 if I can help it, you know. Anyway, that's why I got the center point. But like I said, I'm having target issues with the center point. 30 yards, it was just straight up blowing through that target I had. It was the black hole target. I didn't really care for it, so I sent it back. And I got coming the Morel High Roller, that big casino dice looking target. They say, you know, that's good for your higher speed crossbows, broadheads, so on and so forth. I have 3 different broadheads. They're all 100 grains. I have Muzzy Trocar. They're pretty good. And then I have the NAP Spitfire, which I have not tried on the center point yet because on the SA Sports, I guess it's not fast enough that when I shot through the target, only one blade had really opened up. The other two did not. So I wouldn't, maybe with a faster bow it would. And then the third one, I really, really like them. The way they're designed and they flew like freaking field points. Was Ramcat 100 grain pivoting Hydra Shock, I think they're called, with the pivoting blades. So the blades are, down, and then when you could, it's an edge on the front and back of the blade. So when you pull it out of the target, the blades kind of flip up, and you can pull it out. So I really, really like those. So we're gonna give that a shot.